So good evening, everybody. I'm Thibault, the manager of Corny & Barrow in Asia. And talking on behalf of Corny & Barrow, I'm very, very happy to see such a great audience to listen to the story of Domaine du Pélican. We have François Duvivier, who's going to be our guest speaker this evening. We were also to have Guillaume. Unfortunately, business being business, he had been put out at the last minute. François is Guillaume, régisseur at Volnay. They've been working together for ages, and he is business partner in Domaine du Pélican. He knows the place inside out. I've been twice at Domaine du Pélican in the last 3 years, and each time François gave me the tour, and that was a great privilege. You're not here to listen to me talking. I will end the virtual microphone and the spotlight to François, who will take care of us for the next 45-50 minutes. François will give us a brief introduction to the story behind Domaine du Pélican, and then we have gathered a question from all of you, and we will use that to put some rhythm to this presentation, and then we will also talk about the wine that some of you have on your table, the 17 Domaine du Pélican, and 1 Sauvignon 16 for Singapore. So without further delay, let's welcome François, and let's hear about Domaine du Pélican.
Okay, hello everybody, hello Hong Kong. I'm very happy to speak to you because actually with that we can't receive you in the domain. I love to show the domain, to show the vineyard, to show the wine here, but there is some good tools like Zoom. I can speak to you about the domain, why we went to Jura, because Angerville Estate is more known for its Volnay. In 10 years ago, we wanted to see something else with Guillaume, and to continue to make great wines, terroir wines, of course, and with a high quality level. The tools stay the same as in Volnay, so our culture is to make organic and biodynamic wines. And we start to search some places. We have, of course, lots of choice. Guillaume always remembers what say his father, Jacques d'Angerville, that we can't make a wine by phone. So the idea was to find a place quite close from Jura, from Burgundy, and one of the choice was to go in Jura. The collapse was more important, so we have an access for the vineyard to oldest leys, and we have things which is a particularity of the Jura, which is marls. Marls, it's a sort of a clay who can take some different colors. We have some gray marls, of some green and red marls. And it gives to the wines real specificities that we didn't have in Burgundy. So soil was totally different. Varieties are not totally different because in addition of the 3 previous varieties, we had also Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. And climate is different. We have around 50% more of rain, depending on the years, it's between 50% to 100% more rain. So we need some adaptation, of course.
When is the winery going to be finished?
November. November. I am fighting this month because normally it's beginning of November and the architects say end of November. But I want to go as quick as possible in the new winery.
So this vintage should be in the new winery, the vintage 2020.
No. The élevage of the 2020 will take place in the new winery. The barrels that you see behind me are full of 2020, and next month we have to take those barrels to put them in the new winery.
How was vintage 2020 for you in Jura?
Exceptional. I don't know if I show you some pictures, if you can see something. Do you see something or not?
Yes. Yeah.
It's totally surrounded by wood.
Okay, so that's going to be the entrance of the winery, the front.
Yes. Sorry for the quality.
That's fine. So 2020, good vintage.
Very good vintage. Very special vintage because during the lockdown, we have to be all the day in the vineyard and to be with lots of people. So we take care, of course, to do that. But we can't. Some people in viticulture, in agriculture, we can't say we stop to work 2 months. It's not possible. If we do that, we lose all the crop for the year. The spring was very hot and very dry. All the season was very dry, and we start the harvest on the 24th of August. We never harvest in Jura so early. We were a little bit afraid. We were thinking that we can have some very high degrees, some aromas of jam a little bit, but it was the opposite. We had not a very high level of alcohol. Wines are very fresh and we have a very high level of acidity. We can imagine that it could be like 2003. No, if we can compare, it's more like 2015, for example.
How was 2019 as a vintage? Because that's the next one we are going to put in the market sometime later this year. How was it as a season?
Alors, very early spring too. The comment on dit, débourrement.
Bud break.
Okay, the bud break take place in the 1st of April. So it's very, very early, too early, because all the April months we have risk of frost. April was very cold. We didn't have frost, but starting of the vineyard was not very good. So we lose around 10% of the crop in April. Summer and spring was very dry and a little bit hot. So we lose a little bit, we lose around 10% more. And in July, we had end of June and end of July, 2 big hot point, and some grapes were dried by the sun and we lose them. So at the finish, we lose around 30% of the crop. But the harvest date was it's always early, but we start around the 12th of September.
I have 2 interesting questions about the skin contact, Savagnin. How many days do you keep the skin with the must? And is it fermented in barrel or in stainless steel tank?
Okay, we make the skin contact exactly at the same way as we are making our reds. So we destem the grapes, we put all in a stainless steel vat, and it starts naturally in fermentation. So fermentation start, there is a heating point at around 30 degrees because fermentation is going quite fast. And after 10 days around, we take the juice and we press. And after pressing, the juice was the sugar was totally transformed in alcohol, and it takes place in barrels. You need water if you drink those type of wine.
We have a question around the global warming. Do you see any effect in Jura from the global warming? Do you benefit of it? Do you feel guilty about it?
No, we are not guilty. It's not our fault. Of course, there is a heating of the weather. We are both happy and not happy because when we arrived 8 years ago in Jura, we had the old idea of the beginning of 20 years ago. There was around 1 or 2 weeks of difference of picking between Jura and Burgundy. With the heating, now Burgundy and Jura are picked in the same time. It's a little bit more complicated now for me. So it's not far away. So I spend my morning in Volnay and the afternoon in Jura. And I don't remember, I think it was 2013. We start with the whites in Pelican before starting the harvest in Volnay. But now, from the last 5 years, we start Jura between 2 to 4 days after the beginning of Volnay.
Are these the most important things that you are making differently in Jura compared to Burgundy around the oak, or are there more other very important steps that you're doing differently, that you've learned to do differently?
Yes, around the oak, around the length of élevage. We make élevage of 1 year, that's all. For the whites, there is some adaptation of the press, of course, for the Savagnin. In Burgundy, for the Chardonnay, for example, we press directly the juice and it's fermenting in barrel. You have to remember that Savagnin have a skin very thick and an aromatic thick skin. So we have 2 ways to produce our Savagnin. When we make 3 press of 1 cuvée of Savagnin, 2 press are directly press, and 1 press is waiting 1 night. It's a 1 night skin contact, and we press it after 10-12 hours of maceration to take some aromas of the skin.
That goes into the houillet, the Savagnin houillet, right?
Yes, of the Savagnin houillet, yes.
Okay. Okay. One of the other one that we have tonight is the Pulsar, the 2017 Pulsar. What can you tell us about this one? It's one that I really like. But that's not. Yes. That's not important. What about?
Honestly, it's my favorite wines in Pelican, Pulsar. It's a real fragile grape. We had, I saw a very nice comment by, comment il s'appelle, William Kelly, who said that it was a very delicacy, and It was a surprise to have a wine who seems not concentrated, but so long in mouth and so delicate. But it's a little bit hard to understand. We just start to understand it a little bit. And for the vinification of 2020, for example, it's another way as the other reds. We made only in 2 weeks of vinification, we made a human intervention only 2 times, only for making 2 pumping over very shortly. And it's a maceration, we close the vats and nothing to do. And for me, it's we have to wait next year, but for me, it's the best Pulsar 2020 that we had produced.
Okay, sure. The variation of temperature, is it a necessity to make the vin jaune? Is it one of the secrets of making it?
Each people in Jura have his secret, and it's not a secret. Jacques Puffney is one of the best producers of vin jaune. He has lots of variation in his cellar. Jean-Marc in Château Chalon is one other great producer in Jura. He has cold cellars. I think we have to find our own way, and no, it's a mysterious one. Yes.
So there is just there's not one single secret to make vin jaune. It depends.
No.
Okay. So after the 2 reds in 2017, you made 2 whites, and we have the Chardonnay and the Savagnin this evening. Would you like to talk about the Chardonnay 17, please?
Chardonnay 17, yes. Our Chardonnay is a blend of 2 types of terroirs. One part of the vineyards are on marls, so this heavy soil of clay, who gives some largeness of the wine, but lots of minerality and length. It's the signature of the marls, so you will discover it next year with 18, because all the single vineyard of Chardonnay and Savagnin are on marls. And we add in this blend of Chardonnay some soil who are a little bit like in Burgundy. So the layers of limestone who had erosion have recovered some marls with 1 to 3 meters, but the soil is more light, and it gives to Chardonnay a style a little bit like in Burgundy. You have a real dry wine, thin with length, but with less minerality and less volume as you can find on marls.
We have the 17, and then in Singapore, I know they have the 16. Would you say a few words about these 2 wines?
Yes. Savagnin is a little bit a rustic variety, so we can wait without rot outside. So we can wait a very high level of maturity, and it keeps always its acidity. First tasting, you are a little bit surprised with the level of acidity, but just after this wake up with this acidity, you have a big volume in mouth. And after, it's long, it's more long as Chardonnay. It's a citrus aroma, a little bit exotic.
With Guillaume in Volnay, you are doing a lot of red wine.
Yes.
And then in Jura, you're doing a fair amount of white wine. Was it a challenge? Was it difficult, or was it quite natural?
Of course, but in Volnay we used to make Aligoté, Bourgogne and Meursault-Centenot, but only with Chardonnay. Here we have lots of things to discover.
But that's something
a little bit a new world for us.
It's a learning process all the time.
Yes. Pelican, le Pélican, it's the symbol, the symbol of the Arbois town. There is a story about it. In the 15th century, the König of Austria, Germany were coming in Arbois for visiting. And the story said that he had a pelican, because at this time, if you have a pelican and some exotic animals like alligator or lion, you show to everybody that you are a very important guy. And the pelican died in Arbois, poor pelican. And so the König, who were Maximilian de Habsburg, said to the people, take my pelican as your symbol for your town. And for the story, because it's not finished, this König was the husband of Marie de Bourgogne, and Marie de Bourgogne was the daughter of the last Burgundy Duke. And when you are producing in Volnay a wine which is called Clos des Ducs, the circle is finished.
Okay. So the Pelican at the moment and is only on the label.
Yes.
Okay, good. François, thank you very much for giving us an hour of your time. I know you're a busy man. You run all over the place.
Thank you for to hear me.
And it was a great pleasure to listen to you talking about the wines. I know people have seen some message. People have liked what they tasted. So I look forward to the next vintage. I look forward to come and see you again whenever we can travel. I hope you can make it as well to Hong Kong and Singapore to see us.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you very much, François.
Thank you very much for your attention, and I waiting the most of you in Arbois. You spend some time here. You will see it's a wonderful land.
And even when it rains.
Yes, but it's very green. So
yeah. So okay, cool.